Hey guys, this is DJ. I just wanted to walk you through how leads come into RentJuice, how to work them, and most importantly, how to enter them into the system so that you can continue to get leads. So first of all, you're going to start receiving emails that look like this. Let's go ahead and find one. Okay, so you're going to receive emails that look with the subject line RentJuice in brackets and then new lead. Now remember, we send these out to all agents simultaneously. So whoever clicks on the link in this email has first dibs on it. So be proactive, click on the link as fast as you can. You can do it from your phone or obviously from your home computer. So when you click on this link, it's going to bring you right into RentJuice. Unless you're not logged in, it's going to ask you to log in. But it's going to take you right to the Leads tab and actually right into the lead that email pertains to. So in this case, it will take you right to, for example, this screen. So Christina is the lead that came in. Now, the first thing to notice is that this lead has already been assigned. What does assigned mean? It means somebody clicked on the link in the email and then assigned it to themselves. So let's just go ahead and unassign this lead, which you will not have the access to do, but I will. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. Okay, so if you were the first person to click on this lead, you would see this screen. Notice the big green button in the upper right-hand corner which says claim this lead. First thing you're going to want to do is claim this lead. So click that button. And now notice that button disappeared. What does that mean? It means now it has been claimed, and in this case it says KL Realty is assigned user because I'm in the master account, but it would have your name. So let's go ahead and give this back to Alex because this was her lead. Okay, so let's say now it'd be assigned to you. Now the first thing we want to do is scroll all the way to the end of this lead form. Okay, and what we want to do is look in two places, the notes and also recent activity. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over to leave an update under recent activity because we don't want to use the notes tab. The reason why we don't want to use the notes field rather is because it can be deleted. We absolutely do not want notes to be deleted, and anyone can go in and delete it by accident. But when you leave an update, it will add it in a permanent record. So we scroll down here because we want to see if some other agent had access to this lead just maybe before you got access to it, meaning maybe they clicked faster than you did. So we scroll down and we see that, well, it's saying that I commented, but really it would say Alex commented and she emailed her. Okay, so if you don't see any notes or any updates, you know that you're the first person to find that lead. By the way, once you claim it, no one else can claim or call this lead. So the way that it works is you first check, is there a green button here? No, there's not. This lead has been assigned to Alex, and then you're basically done. You step away at that point. If there's a green button there, you click it, and now nobody else can touch it. So the first thing you always want to do is check the assigned user and see if it has your name or, of course, another agent's name. So a couple of things to note here. No phone number, but an email address. Let's keep scrolling down. Looking for a 2-bedroom or a 2-bedroom in Den. Wants to move in June 1st. We do not know how much they're looking to spend in rents or whether they have a pet. And it looks like they want to live in either Lakeview or Lincoln Park. And that is all the information we have. Okay. So those are leads that come in. And by the way, how did we get this lead? These leads that you'll be getting emails on have one of really two ways. They visited one of our web properties, our websites, for example, klrents.com, or we have several, and they completed a form, and that information came through our system, and we distribute it to you. Now, remember that when you call these leads, and if they ask, how did you get my name and number, you're going to say, you visited one of our properties, it looks like you showed interest in Lakeview and Lincoln Park. I've been assigned to work with you. It's a very powerful phrase. I've been assigned to work with you. And just so that you know, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, there's no fee to work with me, and I've got thousands, actually close to 10,000 apartments available. We'll find you the right place. Okay, so those are a lead. Let's take a look at another lead with a little bit more information. Or, by the way, they may not have visited a web property. They may have called to our office, and we put them in as a lead. So you can say, oh, you may have visited one of our websites, or maybe you called us. Either way, I've been assigned to work with you. Okay, so Felicia, phone number, email address. Obviously, we know this is already Jonathan's website, or Jonathan's lead, but we know they're looking for 3 to 4 bedrooms, move in June 1. $1,300 is what they're looking to spend. Looks like they're interested in Bronzeville, as well as Hyde Park, West Loop Gate, and again, do not put your notes in the notes field. Put them in leave and update so that they can't actually get deleted. Okay, because I'm going to delete them right now, but I've added them down here. Now, let's say you get a lead and there's not any information. Like literally, it's a phone number. We don't know where they want to live. We don't know how many bedrooms, when they're moving in, what their rent price is. We don't know anything other than their phone number. Well, that is when you use our trusty rental checklist form, which I am going to pull up right now. Now this form, once you've installed Dropbox onto your computer, is in Dropbox, then leasing agents, and then qualifying tools. Go to lead qualifying sheet, and there it is right here, qualifying to. So we pull this up, and we've got this now here in the system, which is their first name, their last name, all of that information you're going to ask. And the first thing you're going to want to ask is some initial qualifying information. What's the most you can afford to pay in monthly rent? The reason you ask this is, even if they've told you, well, I want to spend $1,300, say, hey, that's great, I've got 7,000 listings. Are you willing to spend more if we find you a place that really meets your needs? Is $1,300 your maximum? And if they say, well, I'd like to stay at $1,300, but I'm willing to spend up to $1,450, that way you know that that's the maximum they can afford. Okay? When would you like to move? And then when do you absolutely have to move? Now these are two very different questions. When would you like to move is oftentimes, well, I'd like to move right now. Okay, great, you'd like to move right now. When do you absolutely have to move? Okay, in other words, when do you have to be in your next apartment? Because those can be different answers and will give you an idea of what's their timeline, right? So if they say they'd like to move today, they're motivated, but they don't really need to move until the end of the month. Well, then you know approximately that you're probably looking at end of month, right? Hopefully you're looking sooner, but I would go ahead and suppose that it's going to be at the end of the month. And it's a critical question, and my recommendation to you is after every answer, repeat back what they said. So, okay, so you told me you're looking to spend $1,300, but you're willing to go up to $1,450, and you'd like to move today, but you absolutely have to move by the end of the month. Do I have that correct? And that's just a really great way to ensure that you have their information correct. Then some clarifying questions. How many bedrooms are you looking for? Now a lot of times they'll give you two answers too. They'll say, well, I'd really like 2 bedrooms. And you say, okay, well, are you okay with 1 bedroom, or you do have to have 2? Okay. And then the bathrooms are probably less important, but you may want to ask, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 2 bathrooms, etc. Now, the next question is, what part of town would you like to live in? Now, I would be very careful about this question and try to find one area to start with. So a lot of times people will say, well, I'm kind of good with anywhere, or they might say, well, Lincoln Park, Lakeview, Gold Coast, River North, Streeterville, the Loop. That's too much, that's too wide a net. So what you want to do in that situation, say, hey, great, I've got places in all of those areas. What would be the best or most ideal place out of all of those? Let's start there. Don't let them give you more than one. If they give you more than one, again, just start with the, well, what would be the ideal place if you could move tomorrow? Which of those would you choose first? Okay. Then the next, do you need a parking space? Obviously very important. Do you have any pets? And pets are important because you need to know what type of pets, how many, the weight, and also the breed. Many property managers have breed and weight restrictions on dogs and just number of pets in general. Okay. Next, do you need to be near public transportation? Now, this question is important, but my experience has been that most renters who are looking for their next place have already sort of done the math on where the public transportation is. So I wouldn't be too focused on this question because they're going to determine for themselves, but you should know what lines they need to be close to and that sort of thing. Lastly, is what features do you must need to have? Now, this is another question that I'd be very, very careful about because the more they give you, the more challenging it's going to be to help find them that apartment. And in my experience, people will forego some of their musts if they find the place that just feels the best to them or is in the perfect neighborhood. And for example, also, if you ask somebody, would you like to have a doorman, which is in here, well, everyone would like to have a doorman, right? So be careful of this. And all I would say is, is there anything that's critically important about the apartments that we go see? And I wouldn't even give them suggestions. I would just let them tell you, because again, if they say, well, I need to have stainless steel appliances, then you say, okay, you need to have stainless steel appliances, but if I found you a perfect place that didn't have that, would you just absolutely not accept that? So be a little careful with this one and find out what they're looking for, but also set the expectation that, okay, but if I'm not able to find that and it met every other one of your needs, would that be acceptable? Okay. And then the last question, I don't think you need to ask, but you may just want to, just to make sure you're not going to waste your time, is, oh, hey, do you need the apartment to be furnished? It's a 99% chance that they do not, or that they would have brought it up beforehand, but they can, oh, and then the other one question, which isn't here, is, I'm assuming you need this for a year. If it's furnished, oftentimes it's less than a year. But again, they'll probably tell you that right up front. Okay, the last piece is qualifying. This is the most important part of the whole questionnaire, which is to say, you need to know what their credit score is. Now, the way that I would recommend bringing this up is, oh, hey, just before I let you go, as you're probably aware, Mr. Prospect, every place that you apply to is going to run a comprehensive credit report. Now, do you happen to know your credit score? Now, I would venture a guess to say most people do not know their credit score. So if they say they don't know, that's okay. If they say they do know, even better. If they don't know it, you can say, oh, that's okay, most people don't know it. However, I do need to know if you have any credit issues. For example, do you have any judgments currently against you? Have you ever filed bankruptcy? Do you have any collections? Or have you ever been evicted? And let them tell you, okay? If they say, my credit's great, I would still say, awesome. Just real quickly, have you ever had any collections? Do you have any bankruptcies, judgments, or evictions? And let them tell you. Are they currently employed? Right, you need to know that. And what's their approximate monthly income? And what you may want to say before you start this qualifying Part 2 process is to say, just so that you know, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, all of the information you provide to me is 100% private and secure and will not leave this conversation. It's just important that I know it so that I don't show you a property that wouldn't meet these qualifications. I don't want to waste your time. So after monthly income, the last question is, are you currently on a housing voucher? Now, I would recommend not saying the word Section 8 up front because it has a bit of a negative connotation to some people. Doesn't mean you shouldn't find out, but our experience is people who are on a housing voucher such as Section 8, and by the way, Section 8 is a government-assisted program which provides additional funds for somebody to be able to afford to get housing. So Section 8 will kick in a certain amount, and then the person will kick in additional amount. So the question to ask is, are you on a housing voucher? If the answer is, I don't know what you're talking about, then they're not on a housing voucher. If the question is yes, then I would say, okay, what program are you on? Are you on, for example, Section 8? And if they say yes, then that's really all that you need to know. Okay, so that is the lead generation form. And it's critical that you do not ever meet with somebody in person before you have this filled out. We don't want you to find out that all of a sudden the person has an 80-pound Rottweiler and didn't tell you, or has really terrible credit and has been rejected by their previous 4 landlords for, having a collections issue. So when you're receiving these leads that are coming through, you really need to qualify them. I always say, assume that every lead has terrible credit and is trying to waste your time. Now, that's not going to be true. You're going to get great leads in our system. But assume that so that you're on the defensive to make sure that you have all the information to make sure that you are, in fact, not wasting your time. And by the way, you can always fire a client. Now, you have to do it politely, and you have to make sure that you say it in a way that is considerate and ethical, which is to say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I don't think I would have anything that would meet your needs. I would encourage you to contact another leasing office because, boy, I just don't think I have anything for you, but I wish I did. Okay? Or let's give a different example. Let's say they are a good lead, but they're in an area that you don't want. So you've gone through, you've gotten the information, and you found out that they're looking in a northwest suburb and you live on the south side and you're not willing to drive up there to find places for them. Well, then all you need to do is to go back into your lead. For example, if it was this lead here, and you would put some of those notes in. You do it under leave and update. Spoke to so-and-so, has great credit, looking to move. You could actually fill out some of these, the fields here and say, here's what she's looking for, and I spoke to her. Unfortunately, I can't really help her because I'm not willing to travel to the northwest suburbs. So anyone else can take this, and best of luck. After you put the leave and update, you click add. It puts a permanent record there. Then what you want to do is scroll up to the top and click unclaim this lead. Unclaiming the lead obviously resets it and puts it into your system so that then someone else can claim the lead. So that's why we say when you first claim a lead, scroll down here to see what notes have been put in. That way you can say, oh, I understand you spoke to DJ in the past. I'm actually a better fit and I'm a specialist in where you're looking. And let me ask you a few questions. And by the way, I know it may seem a little overwhelming, those questions that I put up here on the qualifying form. It may seem a little intrusive. It may seem long. I promise you, by actually going down this sheet, it will take you all of less than 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, think about when you go to see the doctor for the first time. You have to fill out that big, long form. Are you allergic to? What medications are you taking? He needs to know, she needs to know that before they can prescribe anything to you. And just the same way, you are a consultant. You're not a salesperson. You're a consultant who goes through and basically finds exactly what they're looking for, consults them, gives them ideas, and then, yes, the sales part comes out once they see something they like. You can create urgency, which we'll talk about on a different video. But think of yourself as a consultant, and your job is to find out everything they need. So you should be doing very little talking during this part of the conversation. Highly recommend doing this on leads that come in right away. Now, it's different for leads that you generate yourself, which will be a different video. But leads that come in through Kale Realty, again, either they call our office or they visited one of our websites, you've been emailed, you claim. The first thing you're going to want to do is say, hey, before we get started, I just have a few questions because, boy, I've got about 10,000 properties or 7,000 properties, and I want to make sure I find you the perfect property of what you're looking for. And, this will just take a moment or two. Ask them the questions. Believe me, they won't have an issue with it. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to show you is how to find leads that people have, in fact, unclaimed. Because if somebody works a lead I'm sorry, let me go back. Here are the 2 rules for when you claim a lead. You must, and there is no exception to this rule, you must call. And in the case where there's not a phone number, you must email. but you must call or email. If there's a phone number you have to call within 2 minutes of claiming the lead. No exception. We will take you off the lead list for even one violation, meaning you will never receive a lead from us again. Here's the reason. There's been a tremendous amount of research that suggests that every minute an internet lead is not contacted, it gets colder literally by the second. So after 10 minutes, the lead is essentially worthless. It doesn't mean that you won't get in touch with them, but we assume that it's worthless because that person's hot right at that moment. So just do yourself a favor. Once you claim a lead, you're obviously not too busy to claim it. Call it right away and say, hey, I saw you were just on one of our websites, or maybe you called our office. I've been assigned to work with you. Tell me a little bit about what you're looking for. Then go through the list. Okay. Second thing, you have to leave a note the moment you exit the phone conversation. And when I say note, I mean leave an update. So scroll down to leave an update, and you have to tell us what's going on. The reason why is if we were to go in and spot check the leads and just say, hey, let's see if anyone worked this particular lead, and we see that DJ was assigned this lead and there's no notes, well, we have to assume at that point that you didn't call them. Odds are you did call them. I would hope you did, but we don't want to have to call you and say, did you call so-and-so? With us generating dozens of leads a day, we don't have the time, but we do spot check. And if we see no notes, you know, we might be nice and give you a warning, but that would be about it, and then you'd be taken off the leads because we cannot, we pay money to generate these leads, we spend time to generate these leads, and all we want to know is, are you working them? And then lastly, just some quick tips, and this is a different training as well, but guys, you have to call a lead at least 10 times before giving up. You don't call them 10 times in one day, they won't answer after the second or third, but call them several times the first day. I would call at least 3 times the first day. If you get their voicemail, leave a voicemail right away and say, hey, this is DJ, I saw you on one of our sites looking for a place. I've got 7,000 different units available. There's no fee to work with me. Please call me at this number and I'll get right back and I'll work with you and we'll figure out some good ideas for you. Call 1 to 4 times in the first day and let them know that you are super motivated to work with them and that you cannot wait to talk to them. Okay, last thing. How do you find leads that are unclaimed? Because let's say we were working with Felicia, she was my lead, and I decided after going through this, maybe it's in 30 minutes have gone by and all of a sudden I went, no, it's not really a good lead for me. I'm going to unassign it, unclaim it. So let me just go ahead and unclaim it. And let's put it back in the queue. So when you log into RentJuice, one of the first things you can do is click on the Leads tab. And then you can change assigned user to unassigned. And that's going to pull up all the unclaimed leads. Okay? Now we know that this one's actually Jonathan's. I'm going to reassign it to him. But you should go through these each time. Each time you log in and just see there might be a good lead that someone just unclaimed that just happened to be in an area that they don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and reassign this before I forget. So guys, when you get those emails, click right away, claim the lead, call the lead, qualify the lead, clarify what they're looking for, qualify again with all their credit information, and then determine if you want to work with them. If you don't, then you unclaim the lead and let somebody else do it. But you always call right away. You always leave an update. And again, please don't make us take you off the lead list. We don't want to do that. We want you to work these leads. Also realize that many leads are just not good leads. They're internet leads. They may have contacted 4 other agents before you. Assume that they have, and make sure when you talk to them that you let them know that you want to work with them, that you're more professional than well, you're not going to say this, but you exude professionalism. You tell them, my job is to act as your consultant. I am going to show you, I'm going to find the perfect apartment for you. I've got thousands of listings. I have everything available in the city, and there's no fee to work with me, and this is what I do. I can't wait to work with you. Be that person on the phone, and they will stay with you. Because remember, they haven't met you, and they don't know you. So on the phone, you have to tell them that you're excited to help them find an apartment. All right. Thank you for listening, and best of luck with leads.